Good morning, everybody. Good morning, and we're all welcome to another beautiful week, another money-making week. We're all welcome to another wonderful week. And we believe that this week is going to be filled with so much pips. It's going to be filled with so much money. And, it will get to a point that we will start saying, oh, this money is too much. This money is too much. Good morning, good morning. Good morning, Mr. Andozie. Good morning, Madam Arikoro Praise. Good morning, Mr. Chinedu. Good morning, Mr. Shola Tomide. Good morning, Mr. Thomas. Good morning, Mr. Vincent. Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are we all doing today? How are we all doing today? Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Yes, good morning. Okay, so this is another beautiful week, and I'll just be running us through the Forex Factory, the news, the high impact news that we have coming up this week so that we can get prepared, we can get our accounts ready for these events, we can get our accounts ready for this event. So today, basically, we don't have any medium impact news or high impact news for today. But by tomorrow, we'll be set and ready to make all of the money in the market. So by 5:30 a.m., we have news coming up for Australian dollar. And I believe you want to make it a date. So we have cash rates. We have the monetary policy statement, we have the rate statement, and we have the press conference by 6:30 a.m. I believe that we don't want to miss out. I believe that we don't want to miss out on that. Okay, so on Wednesday by 1:30 for dollar, we have the almighty CPI. I believe we all made money from NFP. Did we all make money from NFP? If you did not make money from NFP, trust me, that's an abomination because I don't know why you were not there. I don't know why you did not take the trade. So did we make money? Did we make money from NFP? Let me even get our feedback from that because we even had like an online class for it. Did we make money? How many of us made money so I can know those that will send their tithes to me? So I know those that would send their tithe to me. How many of us made money from NFP? How was it? How was it? Drop your comments in the chat box. I want to know. I want to know. I want to know. Okay. Wow. Mr. Oge Chris says, I made it big. Yeah, because it was just one way. Like it made a lot of sense. It made a lot of sense. If you are trading USD JPY, price just pushed down. If you're trading gold, price just, oh my God, price just went up. For what's it called, for Euro USD, price pushed to the upside, and it was really a great one. It was a great one. And I believe that for those of us that that followed the MMR on Monday, I showed us the candlestick pattern that I saw, and I said all things being equal, we expect that price should push up the whole of last week. And at first it looked like nothing was going to happen, and eventually it did happen, and we saw our price broke out of the consolidation and it pushed to the upward side. And this is just to tell you that you don't joke with news. Don't joke with news. If you've not been making money technically, trust me, you don't want to, especially high impact news, you don't want to joke with them. You don't want to joke with them. So we have another one coming up, which is CPI. That's the Consumer Price Index coming up for dollar. Now we have another one coming up tomorrow for Australian dollar. That's for 5:30 a.m. I know that some people say, I cannot wake up that early. It's fine. It just shows that you don't like money. But if I ask you now, that's Mr. So, do you like money? You will tell me yes, right? So tomorrow by 5:30 a.m. for Australian dollar, we have 4 different high impact news coming up for Australian dollar. You want to make it a date. By Wednesday, August 12th, 1:30 p.m., we have news coming up for dollar. And I said you don't want to miss that. That's the CPI, right? Coming up for dollar. Now on Thursday by 7 o'clock a.m., by 4 o'clock, we have news coming up for New Zealand dollar for 7 o'clock a.m. I just need us to, start checking all of these dates on our calendar so you don't miss out. So you're not telling me, Moji, I forgot, Yes, yes, very important, Mr. Tokumbo. Yes, that tight is very, very, very important. Okay, so I don't want to hear story. I forgot. I did this. I don't want to hear it. Okay, so on by 7 o'clock a.m. we have news coming up. High impact news coming up for GBP. By 1:30 on Thursday too. So this week is packed with money. Like this week is packed with money. From Tuesday to Friday, just keep cashing out. I don't want to hear I forgot and this one. And so that's that for this week. Those are the fundamentals that we have for this week. And if you are in Osogbo, Akure, you are in Benin City, it is this week. Oh, it is this week. I hope you already told them at your office that you're not coming to work on Thursday. So on Thursday, the 13th of August, we'll be storming your area, right? So we are coming, we are coming, we are coming. We have good news for you. We have a lot of goodies for you. So let's make it a date. Make sure you come with somebody and let's sit there and make money together. So that's that about the forexfactory.com this morning. Let's move on to what the market is saying technically, since there's nothing serious happening today. So let's see what the market is saying technically. Okay, so looking at the market price today, I would start by showing us the dollar index. 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute. Okay, so the dollar index, let's see what the dollar index is saying. That's Control A. Okay, so this is the dollar index. Let's see what the dollar index is saying. So let me show us. Okay, so last week I told us we went to the higher time frame to see what prices say, And I told us, I said the dollar index is a flip down, or Euro USD is a flip down of the dollar index. Euro USD is a flip down of the dollar index. Now, I told us last week, I said we have this candle, which is a bearish engulfing sitting on a support area. Now, I believe price is still going to come back here. Do you know why? Because there's an order block here. So there's an order block around this area, and there is as well a fair value gap. So price is still coming back here. You see this 101.354, price is not done with it yet. But when it is going to come back, we don't know. So if I were you, I'll go and set my pending order around that area, because I know that price is still coming back to fill the order block around this area. I know price is still coming back to fill the order block around this area. So get prepared. But that's not even why we are here now. The reason why we are here is just because last week I told us that this candle was giving a bearish engulfing, which simply means, that price was ready to push all the way down. So you didn't even need to like check anything again for where the price of NFP was going to push to, because technically we can see that on the weekly time frame, the dollar index has been pushing all the way to the downside until it got to this point, and it started pushing all the way up. But aside from that, you can see that majorly, if I go to the monthly time frame, you find that price has actually been on a downward trend. Price has actually been on a downward trend all the way from this point down to this point. So that's our directional bias. We have it at the back of our mind that price is actually on a downward trend. Now, moving on to the weekly time frame. So now looking at price this morning, okay, as last week I told us, I said, okay, this is giving like a bearish engulfing, and not even giving like a bearish engulfing. It is a bearish engulfing telling us that price got rejected around this zone and price was going to push to the downside. And remember, I was telling us last week that most often than not, when you find these candlestick patterns on higher time frame, they are not joking. Price is going to respect it, especially especially on weekly time frame. When you see candlestick patterns like this, please don't joke with them. Please don't joke with them. And also, when this candlestick pattern also fits into what the market is already saying. So all of these that price was doing was just a consolidation. The price would go up to come down, to go up to come down. So it was not the problem. So price just needed to get the rejection around this zone where it got rejection in April 2025. It still came back there. In May 2026, it was unable to break above, and we can now see what price is doing here. So price was unable to break that zone. It formed a bearish engulfing, and we saw price pushing to the downward side. So NFP was like there was already a way, like, you know, it has shown us that this is what price is about to do. Now, moving on to the daily time frame, that's our weekly time frame. Now moving on to the daily time frame, what is price saying here? What is price saying here? Now we can see that all the way from this point, price has been forming series of lower highs and lower lows. You can see price tried to push to this point, it was unable to, and price came back for a lower low, which means that we are bearish for this particular instrument. Price was pushing all the way to the top. This is on the daily time frame. Price was pushing all the way to the top. It was doing series of higher highs and lower lows. It will push to the top to go up. It went up, it came back down. So I'm just trying to show us. So it came back down to form this low. It went up again to form another higher high. It came down again to form a lower low. And this was the lower low that bet this higher high. Price now pushed all the way to this point. Price pushed all the way to that point. It came back down again. And then eventually this one pushed price all the way to this point. Now, around this zone, there was a candlestick pattern telling you that buyers are tired, they are exhausted, price can no longer push to the top. And this candle ended as a shooting star telling you that price is about to push to the downward side. And what we needed was this confirmation, and price did what it pushed down. Now, looking at what price did here, we can see price just moved, swiftly all the way to the downside. It was just pushing all the way down. And I know some people are wondering, it was because this particular zone where price is at is a rejection zone. Now, price did that. It came all the way down, and it did what? It did a change of character here. It did a change of character here. Price broke below this particular zone. It went back for a retest. This particular candle went back for a retest. It was unable to break through, and we can now see price pushing down. We can now see price pushing down. Now, what does this mean? It means that we are bearish, which means that we should look for more of bearish opportunities rather than bullish opportunities. Now, looking at what price did here, so price did like a lower low. That's on this week. You can see Okay, sorry about that. We had um, a little issue here and there. Okay, so so moving on, that's that. And the reason why I'm trying to like establish this fact with the dollar index is because most often than not, whatever you see on the dollar index, that's what you see on Euro USD. I know that, and I know that there are so many traders, on Euro USD. Everybody wants to know what's Euro USD doing. Now, with what the news did here, creating a gap in the markets. This created a gap in the markets. So what price did here as a result of the news created gap in the market, and that's why we see that there was a spike to the top. This is on the H1 time frame. There was a spike to the top. So what I've told us before, I don't know if you've heard it from me before, but I've said it that most times when you have like candles that are abnormal like this, usually caused by the news, price would always come back to at least recover 50% of this move, and then it goes back to do 100% of this move. Now, with what we saw on daily time frame, today could be a pullback day for price to gain more strength, for it to continue to push to the downward side. And you can see the last time price got a rejection around this area was exactly at 50%. So I also want us to take note of this. So anytime news comes out and it forms like, this type of candle, this abnormal looking candle. So what price does usually is to go back to fill 50%. So if I were you, what I would do is I would just set my pending order, wait for price to stop. Okay, so pick me at the buy. At the time price was pushing down, as soon as price is done with whatever it wants to do and I see that it's now pushing up, I can follow it for a buy and target at least 50% of that move. And we can see that that was what price did first. So it went for 50% of this move. With the week of this candle, I believe we know that price went for 50% of this candle. It pushed back down, forming a hammer here, and we can see how far price went to the top. Now, how do we take advantage of this particular move in the market, considering that our bias for this particular instrument is for price to push down, but that doesn't mean that we cannot still take advantage of it as traders. So what we'll do is we can set like a sell stop. So we can set, we won't be going in for an instant execution. So we can set a sell stop, because I will remember I said our directional bias for this particular instrument is for price to push to the downward side. And because we don't want to run, we don't want to run after the market. That's why we're going to be doing this. So instead of going in for an instant execution, rather I would go in for a pending order. So we'd go in for a pending order. So I would rather set my sell stop around this zone, which is at 99.515. So I would just set my own sell stop, around this price, and expecting that price will get to this point, pick me at a sell and continue to push to the downward side, and expect that price will continue to push to the downward side. And another thing you need to understand is that price already formed another gap around this area coming. So I think it's because of the spread. So wasn't making that sound. Oh, okay. So expecting that price will continue to do what? To push to the downward side. Okay, so that's that for the dollar index. Now let's see what Euro USD is saying. Let's see what Euro USD is saying. I believe with this my chart, you already have a clear understanding as to what price is doing here. You already have a clear understanding as to what price is doing here. So price was consolidating. This was because this was as a result of the news. It was building up momentum. It was building up momentum for the news, and after that you can see how price broke out of it. So after this candle, price did like a pushback to this area, and we can see how far price pushed to the top. And I believe that we already had our signal from here. From here, we already got the signal that, oh, price was about to push to the top. And if you remember, on Monday, I was telling us that generally, you need to understand that this particular instrument, which is Euro USD, is not on a downward trend. If you look at the trend, just that if you look at the trend, you find out that price, there was nothing telling us to place a sell trade at the time. So price has actually been on an upward trend, forming series of higher highs and series of higher highs and higher lows. Now, I said the only time we can say or confirm that we are now, bearish is if price is able to break below this zone. So the only time we can confirm that we are bearish is when price is able to break below this zone. So if price, I said if price is able to break below this zone successfully, it breaks below this zone successfully, goes back for a retest, we can then say we are on a downtrend. But looking at what price is doing, price has just been consolidating in between this range. So price has just been consolidating in between this range. It will push to the top, come back down, push to the top, come back down. But now with what we are seeing here, look at it. So price pushed all the way down. And remember, this is on the monthly time frame. So price pushed all the way down, went back for a retest. It was unable to take out this point, which means that we are not fully ready for a sell yet, but it's telling you to, brace up, brace up, brace up, brace up. Price is about to push down. Now, with what we saw on the dollar index, which signifies that we're expecting price to continue to push to the downward side. Now, what is Euro USD saying? This is on the monthly time frame. Obviously, we cannot take our trades on the monthly time frame. This is just to give us a direction of the market, to give us a directional bias of what the market is saying, So this is it. So price, so price was forming series of higher highs. So let's take it from here. So price went all the way to the top. It came back down here. You need to understand that I believe that by now, you know that market structure, understanding the structure of the market is very, very important. And price went back up to give us another higher high. It came back down. We got a push to the downward side. Giving us this, but price did not break below this higher low. Price formed this higher low. It was this higher low that bet this higher high. Price pushed all the way down, and it was this higher low that bet this higher high. Now, for you to say that we are now fully bearish, right? For us to say that we are now fully bearish. So number one, we said price will fail to create a new higher high, which price did here. So it failed to create a new higher high. Number two, price will now break the last higher low. Price will break below the last lower, the price will break below the last higher low. And I believe that with what price did here, price came all the way down, it went back up, but it did not go above this last higher high. So we cannot say. So let's look at it together. So price did not break above this point. It started coming all the way down again. So after this move, this was the lower high that birthed this lower low. So this was the lower high that birthed this lower low, and we can now see price do it like a push back to the top to form a lower high for price to continue to push down. But now, what my concern is just that the last time price got here, we can see that there was a rejection, and we don't know how far this will go. So this candle can continue to push back up and then going above this particular lower high, and we can now resume our bearish momentum. So for this particular instrument, price is just consolidating. That's what price is doing currently. So we just want to trade carefully. So this is where we buy at a low price and we sell at a high price. That's just what price has been doing. So price will push up to come down, push up, come down, and we can now see what price is doing. But let's try to get our own move. Let's see what price is saying around this zone and how we can take advantage of this particular move. So price got to this point, and we can see that price is now pushing to the upward side. But because it was unable to break above this last lower high, so I can categorically say that we might have price pushing to the downward side. But who knows? Let's just see what price does. So let's look at the daily time frame to get our own opportunity from the market. So price broke above this particular zone slightly. That was last week. So price broke above this zone slightly, came back for a retest, and by default we should have another candle pushing all the way to the top today. So that's what the daily time frame is telling us. Daily time frame is telling us that, guys, we are still very bullish because we are intraday traders. We trade within the day. So it's telling us that we are still very bullish. Price came all the way down, it went back up, so it formed like another higher high, came back for a retest, was unable to break into this points, and we expect that price would continue to push to the top. So if the dollar index is pushing downwards, then we expect that Euro USD will continue to push to the top. So let's look for opportunities to buy. So if I am to trade this particular instrument, I am going to go in for an instant buy. I'll go in for an instant buy with the hope that price would, because this market is a game of probability, right? It's a game of probability. So we just want to, it's not, we don't intend to leave our trades for a long period of time, because we don't even have the amount that requires us to leave our trade for a long period of time. We just want to join them because we cannot beat them. Remember, we have bigger boys in this market. So because we cannot beat them, we just have to join them. So now, instead of going in for an instant execution on this particular instrument also, what I'll do is I'll try to take a pending order, which is a buy stop around this zone. So what I would have done is I would have gone in for a, remember, with everything price did based off the news, still I need us to still have it at the back of our mind that price is still going to come back to this zone to mitigate it, right? So be prepared for a push to the downward side. That's as regards Euro USD. Be prepared. So there's still going to be a bearish move, like a massive bearish move, pushing all the way down to complete or to clear or to mitigate all of this push to the upward side that was caused by the news. So I need us to be prepared. But for now, what is the market price saying? So the market price is telling us to look for more opportunities to buy rather than sell. So I will just wait for price to break above this particular zone. I'm just going to wait for price to break above this particular zone before I go in for my buy. Now, there are cases whereby price might say, I don't want to push to the upward side. I want to start coming down. Like, I need to fill this guy because I expect that price is supposed to do at least 50% of this move before it continues its push back to the upward side, right? So I expect that price will do 50%. And you can see at exactly 50% of all of this move, that's where we got our rejection from. I believe you can see my Fibonacci retracement level at 50%. We can see at exactly 50%, that's where we are now seeing that, oh, price is trying to do what? It's trying to push to the upward side. But instead of just rushing, rushing into the market, instead of just joining them, without a clear instruction as to what the market is saying, I'd rather go in for a pending order. So now, because I know that this particular instrument has a tendency of pushing to the downward side based off what I saw on the monthly time frame, so I won't want to rely so much on the buys. I won't want to rely so much on the bulls. So I would also try to see if I can take advantage even when price is pushing to the downward side. Remember, the goal is not to make all the money in the market. The goal is to make sure that we get our own profits, at least our own peak. Okay, so what will I do now? In this case, if price is expected to break above this 61.8 Fibonacci retracement level, I would place my buy stop around this zone. I'll place my buy stop around this zone. That's if I'm to go in for a buy, that's at 1.15610. That's exactly where I'm going to place my buy stop. But then in a case whereby price says, I don't want to go up, I want to come back to mitigate all of this gap that was caused by the move in the markets, all of this gap that was caused by the move in the markets. All I need to do is just position myself for a sell, and I expect that price would pick me at a sell stop of 1.15460. That's if price decides to start coming down, it should pick me at a sell price of 1.15460, 1.15460. Okay, and we also have this very fantastic indicator that we've been testing for a while now, and it has, it just every single time it keeps giving us, a reason why we should trust it. And I believe that by now, I'm sure you've heard of it from my colleagues, and I believe that the requirements it needs for you to get this particular indicator. So it's showing us that we have a bearish around here, which means that you don't even need to bother yourself about what candlestick pattern is where or not. And we can see that it gave us a bearish signal pushing price all the way to the downward side. But now this is what we want to do. So it's either we pick our sell trade around this zone, it's either we pick our sell trade around this zone. So please and please, if you have up to 1 million naira and above, request specifically for this indicator. Request specifically for this indicator. So if you have up to 1 million naira or you intend to fund your account with 1 million naira and above, request specifically for this indicator and let me know when you deposit into your account so I can share it with you. So if you need this indicator, it is readily available for those of us that have up to 1 million naira and above in our account. So it can help us trade effectively, right, and efficiently in the market. So it gives us a bearish signal, and what we expect is that price would get rejected. So if at all I'm going in for a sell trade, I will not just go in because of the knowledge that I have of this market that anything can happen at any time. So it's either I take my buy around this zone because price has now gotten a rejection around my 50% Fibonacci retracement level. Is that I push, I get my buy stop around this, I pick my buy stop around this zone, or I get my sell stop around this zone. So in a case whereby this is just a pullback, if this is just a pullback for price to continue to push to the upward side, and you can see what price is about to do now, I believe what it just wants to do is just to sweep the liquidity we have at the top here, and it continues to push to the downward side. So if that's what price wants to do, we can take our sell stop at 1.15462. But if not, remember, everything is still pushing to the upward side. All move is still pushing to the upward side. So that's why I said we can either take our buy stop around this zone, or we take our sell stop around this zone, Okay, let me see. I think we have some. Okay, so you can see it already marked that zone for us, that this is a danger zone. The zone we saw on H4, it already marked it for us that here you need to be careful. So if at all you're going in for a buy, please wait for price to break above this particular zone, which price just did, but we need a confirmation. We can see that price is trying to break above it, but we need a confirmation. So some people can decide to go in for an instant buy, which is very fine, but you need a confirmation. So make use of the pending order, which is at 1.15607, because that's what I'm going to be using. It's not a financial advice, but as for me, that's what I would be using. Okay, so in fact, I don't know, because I don't know the amount you have in your account. So this might be a little bit risky for you. Say, okay, I don't want to take the same risk, but with what price is doing here, so I expect that I've gone in for a buy trade, then I should be looking at ending my trade around this zone, Yes. So I had to do an instant buy. I had to go in for an instant buy trade. So let's see what gold is saying. Gold is actually very, very sweet to trade. It is very, very sweet to trade, and it is also very dicey to trade. That's why we always advise that if you don't have enough money in your account, don't try it. See, now I set my buy limit around this, so it didn't pick my buy trade. I can see it pushing to the upward side. This can be very painful. I don't know if it has happened to any of us before. You set your buy limit, price was very close to that buy limit, but it still didn't pick it, and we can see price. I did a buy limit around the zone, it still didn't pick it, and we can see price pushing to the upward side. Now, the reason why I said gold is actually very important is that if you had looked at this chart, that's after the news, after everything that happened with the news last week, if you had looked at this chart, you will know that there is so much for price. And gold, I always tell people that the first instrument that recovers every gap is gold. I don't know if you have noticed, but based on experience, the first instrument that recovers gap for me is always gold. So whenever price does all of these, as a result of the news, I always look for opportunities. To tap in. This is not the first time this is happening, and I guarantee you that if you go back to check in time, you'd really understand. Now, if you have a knowledge of smart money concepts, you will know that this particular zone where price is at, what price did here was to create an order block, which means that there are so many, the institutions, everybody, they know So there are so many orders around this area, and price was just coming back to fill it. So not only did price do a did price form order block, but there was a fair value gap which served as the magnet for price to come back to this zone. There was a fair value gap which served as the magnet for price to come back to this zone. So this was the gap. This was the gap all the way from this point to this point. So if you are just targeted, so this point to this point, this was the fair value gap. Let me just try to change this color. I believe you are all with me, and you are trying to pick one or two things. I've been dropping a lot of nuggets, so a lot. And if you are not tapping into it, I believe that some of us are still going to forget these things, but don't worry, just calm down. Don't worry, just calm down. So I'm with you. I'm still with you. But try as much as possible to jot all of these things down. So the gap price created around this zone was what served as the magnet for price to come back to fill, for price to come back to mitigate this order block. So price formed an order block around this point, telling you that, oh, there is still so much value here. So what gold will do is gold will come back to fill all of that gap before it continues to move to the upward side. And I don't know if you are awake in the midnight. I believe you made so much money from this move because I was awake. Yes, I cannot sleep. In fact, I've not been able to sleep since Friday because I was just expecting everything to play out. I was just expecting everything to play out like this. Okay, so I don't know. I feel like this money markets review today is already turning into a session, a class, but I know, let's just continue as the spirit leads, right? Okay, so that's what we are looking at. So price created an order block here. So I want you to take, because we say we are doing technical analysis and we need to understand that it has to do with what has happened before. So that's why you need to be conscious. That's why you cannot trade all instruments in the market. Most of these things I'm telling us is as a result of how familiar I've gotten myself with most of these instruments. And I know, I see how they react to price. So now what price did was to come back. So this was the fair value gap, like I was saying before. This was the fair value gap that caused that magnet for price to come back to fill this order block. To fill this order block. By default, they know that around this zone, you're already preparing to buy. You're already preparing to buy that, okay, price did a pullback here. It's time for me to place a buy trade. But no, price would always show you, especially for gold, it told us clearly that, oh, guy, there's another block here, and there's a fair value gap here, which is going to serve as a magnet for price to continue to do what? For price to continue to push down. And you can see immediately price tapped into that order block. You can see how price pushed to the top, which is very normal. So that's for those of us that trade SMC. But those of us that don't trade SMC, we are still all about the support and resistance. Now let's talk. So what's happening? Okay, so now we can see price pushing all the way to the top, knowing fully well that this particular instrument is known for, it's known for its bullish move, it's known for its bullish run. So let's see. This is on the daily time frame. We can see, so price did like a pullback, and we expect that price will continue to do what? To push to the top. We expect that price will break above this point. But two things can happen. Price is now at a zone whereby anything can happen. It's either price gets here, is able to break above, or it continues to push down. Two things. But generally, what are major buyers for this particular instrument? Price is on a downward trend. Now, this is another order block on, so this is another order block on, what's it called? On the, this is another block on H4 time frame, and you can go to lower time frames to, I believe we know what order block is. If you don't know, don't worry. There's another class for that. We're going to, bring up a class on that. Okay, so price might still come back here to mitigate this guy before it continues to go up. We just need to look for a fair value gap around that side, which is going to serve as a magnet for price to retrace back to that level. So you can see where price is now. It is very important that you take note of what price is doing here. So two things can happen around this area. Price can come back here to mitigate this order block before it continues pushing to the upward side. Yes, so price can come back to mitigate this guy before it continues to push to the upward side. So generally, our bias is for price to go up. But with what price is doing here, we can see the last time price also going by the, by supports and resistance. We can see that the last time price got here, it started pushing all the way down. Now, price can do the same thing around this zone, also considering the fact that there are so many orders around this zone. So price might come back here to fill it before it continues to the upward side. And now, how do we join? How do we join? If price, how do we take advantage of this move? So all we just do is just go to the lower time frame. So with what price is doing here now, I would not advise that you just jump in for an instant buy. But if you know that you have the mind, you have the money, you are ready, yes, you can join in. But I would advise that you set your, this is on the 15 minutes time frame, which is not a bad idea. So if you're still looking to go in for a buy trade, I'd advise that you set your buy stop at 4341.47. 4341.47. Now, remember, this is not a financial advice. Anything can happen. It is a global financial market. It's a game of probability. So whatever advice that I give you here is just what I can do. It's just what I am also willing to do. So it's either we set our buy stop here. This is the first point, or you set your buy limit rather. It's either you set your buy limit around this zone, or you set your buy limit around this zone. And the reason why we are doing that is because this instrument is on an upward trend, right? And we don't want to go against the trend. Why? Because this instrument does not forgive those that goes against the trend. It doesn't. It doesn't forgive those that go against the trend. So two things you want to do for me is either you pick your buy limit at 4341.47, or you pick your buy limit at 4350, and this is a psychological level at 4350.00. Price could push back there before it continues its major move to the upward side. Okay. Yeah, so Mr. Ayolafemi says silver moves 2 times of gold, right? It makes sense if you want to take advantage of it. But as far as gold is concerned, best believe that price has mitigated the other block around this zone. And the other block we are assuming that price would come back to mitigate is the other block from the 4 hours time frame. Is the other block from the 4 hours time frame. So we expect that price should either push to this point, or it should push to this point before it continues to go up. So you can use those pending orders. You can use those pending orders. Now, another, why are we not, usually we would always drop instruments that we want us to look at. What's going on this morning? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Are we still there? Are we there? Are we there? Are we there? Okay, so now looking at, let me see what the step index indicator is saying about this particular instrument, if we can take. So you can see that if you had gone in for an instant by now you'll be smiling, you know, the opposite of smile. Yeah, so that's why you should not. Please don't do it. Don't run after the market. It's not a good thing to do. You know, we are in this market, we are billionaires, we are millionaires. So we have to act as though we are billionaires and billionaires. And millionaires and billionaires don't run after people. You know, they'll sit there in their house and wait for you to come and meet them, right? That's the same thing we should always do. You sit, you wait for the market to come to you. So that's where, you know, you can now start to negotiate. Okay, how much? Because that's what most of these institutions do. So I don't know if I need to explain this, but don't worry, maybe during one of these classes when I'm talking about these things, you get, you know, more explanation as to what these bigger boys, what they do. I feel I just feel the nurse to give us an example, but I wouldn't want to do that now, because obviously this is not a musical, this is not a class for that. So this class is just meant to help us see what the market price is saying and how to take advantage of it. Okay, so we can see, so price got, oh, wow, okay. Oh, okay. So what happened before? What happened before? Okay, we have USD JPY, we have coffee. I might not check coffee. Why? Because I don't like it. But let's continue. Let's continue. Let's continue. Okay. So somebody says USD JPY, USD JPY. So let me just try to get my USD JPY out. I hope we are writing all these things down. I hope you've been jotting things down. Okay. Okay, seeing what USDJPY is doing right now, it looks as though dollar is gaining its strength back, and price is pushing to the upward side. Price is pushing to the upward side. Well, now this is it. We can see that price is now very close to. Okay, 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 Mr. Ekpemsky. That's very good. Okay, so looking at what price is doing around this zone now, we can see that price has now gotten to, this is on H1, and we can see that price has now gotten to to a zone where we refer to as the resistance zone. And the reason I'm saying this is because of those of us that are, we are newcomers, right? So now the news caused all of this to happen, right? The news caused all of this to happen, creating a gap in the market. But generally, what is the market price of this particular instrument saying? It is saying that price has been on an upward trend. Remember, you don't want to go against the trend, right? So price pushed all the way up, and I feel like that place is too far. Let me start from here. So we can see price pushed all the way to the top. It came back down. It came back down. So it came back down. This is like a higher low. So it formed a higher low all the way to this point. It did not break below this particular zone. It formed like a higher low, and we can see price. So this higher low was the one that birthed this higher high. So this higher low was the one that birthed this higher high. Now, are we on a downtrend? This move was caused by news. This move was caused by news, right? So because this news was caused by news, this move rather was caused by news. That's why we want to be very, very careful. So now, this is on a weekly time frame, and it's telling us that price closed as a bearish engulfing. And remember what I told us about seeing this particular move on a higher time frame. We're going to talk about that again, but let's see what price is. So price pushed all the way down, breaking below this particular point. So price tried to do like a change of character here, but it was a fake out. It was a fake out. So price did like a change of character around the zone, but it was a fake out. You can see how price pushed back, and it started pushing all the way to the top. So now this is on the weekly time frame. Weekly time frame is telling us that we are about to resume our push back to the top. But is this sustainable with everything we are seeing on other instruments? Does price truly want to go up? That's the question. Does price really want to go up? Now, look, let's come down to daily time frame, because we are intraday traders. So I told us about price coming back to fill a gap, and I said what price would always do is to first of all do at least 50% of that move. So let's say price went all the way down. So what price would always do is to do 50% of that move, and then it comes back for. So this was a previous move. Okay, let me just start from here. So let's see 50% of this move. Okay, so this is it. So price came all the way down. It was unable to maintain that point, and we can see at exactly 50% Fibonacci retracement level. That's on what's it called, on the daily time frame. We can now see price pushing back to the top. Now, does this mean that price wants to go back up? We need to be very careful. We need to be very careful of this zone. We need to be very careful of this zone. Now, this is on H4. Let me get my step index to show me what price wants to do around that zone. Let me show you so I can show us. Okay, so this is step index, and the step index is telling us that here, right here, we have a weak resistance, which means price might most likely break above this zone. Price might most likely break above this zone. So we can see the price pushing all the way to the top. So let's see on the daily time frame. So price did this, and we can see price pushing all the way to the top. So two things can happen. Is either price gets here, it gets its rejection and starts coming back down, or it starts its journey to refill all of this move. It starts its journey to refill all of this move, because that time frame is telling us that this particular instrument is on an upward trend, and there is nothing telling us to sell yet except to now get a confirmation. But now, because we trade within the day, so what is the market saying? Price came back, filled all of this, and we can now see price pushing to the top. If dollar continues to gain strength, this particular instrument, we might see it pushing all the way up. But we need to be careful. So this particular instrument is not an instrument you want to trade almost immediately. So let's see what price will do around this zone before we take our decision. So it's either you set, but our directional bias for this instrument is for price to push to the downward side. That's what I expect price to do. Why? Because price pushed all the way down, breaking below. This was the low. This was the low that formed this high. So price pushed all the way down. It was this low that formed this high. Now price broke below it. Two things: price can come back to this particular point to retest it, or price stops here. Price stops around this zone, and we can see the last time price got here, there was a push to the downward side. So price can stop here and start pushing down. So how do we take advantage of it? You can see how we are going into this detail by detail, because we are not supposed to rush. You are not supposed to rush in this market, right? Just take your time, analyze carefully, and see what price truly wants to do. So on the weekly time frame, with what price has done here, I believe that the next move is for price to push to the downward side. That is what I believe price wants to do. But if it starts going up, I'm not the one controlling the market. Who am I to complain? And we can see price pushing all the way down. So if price is unable to break this particular zone, that's for USD JPY, we might see price pushing all the way down. So this is on the H1 time frame. This is on the H1 time frame, and we can see around that same zone, price got the rejection. So we want to be very, very, very careful. So please and please do not take any trade here. For USD JPY, we expect a push to the downward side. And if you're to take advantage of it, and if I am to take advantage of it, I'd rather take my sell stop around this zone, because with what we saw on higher time frame, we are not we might not be bearish anymore. I don't always like to give like an affirmative word when it comes to this market, because the market can do you anyhow. So that's why I don't always like to be. So most often than not, I don't always like to be affirmative. So I just like to, because it's a game of probability. So now if price starts pushing to the downward side, we can expect to take our sell stop at 158.175. That's where I will be putting my sell stop. That's where I will be putting my sell stop. So it's not a financial advice. I'm not telling you to do it. I'm just telling you what I see on the market chart. So moving on to, let's see, I think we have, okay. So let's see US 100. Let's see US 100. Let's see US 100 very fast. Okay, so with my knowledge also on this particular instrument, I know that another thing that it does is to, and if you remember last week, Monday, I told us, I would always refer to it, because by now you should start believing whatever I tell you. So last week, Monday, I was telling us, I said, this candle, this is a rejection pattern sitting on a support, right? Now, this is a rejection pattern. This is on the weekly time frame. This is a rejection pattern sitting on the support. That's the first thing you need to understand, that this market has not come to play. And I told us last week, Monday, that with what I am seeing on the chart now, this could cause a massive push to the upward side. And remember, this particular instrument is on an upward trend. So first things first, this particular instrument is on an upward trend. Now, seeing this particular candle, which means that sellers are tired. They can no longer push price to the downward side, right? See this particular candle telling us that, oh, sellers are now very, very tired. What do we do? So in this case, we saw it. And now with this particular candlestick pattern, last week, this candle also closed as a bullish engulfing, which could continue to push price to the upward side. So as regards all index, yes, please prepare to push in with the bulls rather than the bears. Yes, we want to pitch our tents with the bulls rather than the bears. So if you're looking at, okay, what do I do? How do I do it? Please, I would advise that you pitch your tent with the bulls rather than the bears, because you don't want to get caught in that situation. And also with the level of volatility that this particular instrument has, I believe that we understand better. Yes, a lot of us understand better. So some people will even tell you that I don't want to trade US 100 again because of the volatility. Now, looking at what price did here on the daily time frame, price has been doing a series of higher highs and higher lows, which best defines what we are saying. That's okay. So price is on an upward trend. So price pushed all the way to the top. This is, so going by SMC, price is still coming back here. Price will still come back here. You can jot it down somewhere that I said price is still coming back to this one. It might not fully get here, but price will at least get to 27615. Yes, market price is still coming there, but we don't have that money. We don't have that money to say that this is let me put my order here because I know price will come back there. So most times volume also matters in this market. So we know, I've always told us this market is a money market. So the only way you can respond to it is by showing it that, guy, I'm ready to dig deep with you. Whatever amount it takes, let's go on. Okay, so looking at what price did here, this was on Thursday, and price, broke above this particular point. It came back for a retest. It was unable to break into that point back, and we can now see price pushing. In fact, immediately you woke up this morning, you were supposed to go in for a buy trade. Why? Because you have everything you need. You have everything you need. So for all indices, I am more bullish than bearish. So my directional bias is for price to push to the upward side. I know it's 9 o'clock already, and we're going to be ending very, very soon. Okay, so price pushed all the way to the top, forming this high, and it came back down to form like a, so this was the low. This was the low that birthed this high eventually. So this was the low that, okay, Mr. Bright Chimeze, you can just drop whatever your question is in the chat box, sir. I don't know if I'll be able to take questions, but let's just see. Let's just see. Okay, so this was the higher low that birthed this higher high, right? So it birthed this higher high. We can now see we are still very bullish as regards this particular instrument. So price did that. It formed that higher high, came back down again to form another higher low, and this is the higher low that is supposed to birth the new higher high. So by default, with what we are looking at now, we expect price to go, okay, maybe I'm exaggerating, but I expect price to form above this particular point. Yes, because price did so without the, you should understand by now that the most important thing you need to see on an uptrend is a higher low, because it is that higher low that breaks the higher high. Now we have a higher low that we think and we know that is supposed to bet a higher high by default. So with what price is doing here now, we want to look for more opportunities to buy rather than sell, and that's on the daily time frame. That's on the daily time frame. So, and I believe that you know that with this information, you know that it cuts across every index. It cuts across every index. In fact, me, I'll be going in for an instant buy. So I'll be going in for an instant buy. Yeah, I'll be going in for an instant buy with my take profits around this zone. So I'll be going in for an instant buy, and then I'll just keep my stop loss somewhere around here. So this is my stop loss, this is my entry. So that's for this particular instrument. I think we have a lot to say. Let me see. And your 4 hour time frame is not giving that vibe. I can tell that this person is okay. Let me not talk. Okay, so let's see. So this, I did a buy using 0.05 lot size for this particular instrument because I showed us that by default this is what I'm expecting price to do. So I said maybe I'm exaggerating, but I expect price to go above this particular zone, all things being equal. Now let me show us. Okay, so that's that about price. So if you funded your account with 1 million naira and above, please let me know. Contact me so that we can get that indicator, step index. It is very, very important. And also it is very, very important that you have knowledge about the market. And I believe you've been joining our classes to really understand. So for those of us in Osogbo, Akure, and in Benin, we are coming. It's very important that you know that we are coming. And when you are coming, please make sure that you are ready for money. You know, when you are coming, bring your Ghana must go sack. If that's too small, you can come with a vault so that we can pack all the money in the market together. We can take advantage of the market together. So that's on H1. By exactly 9:05, I'll be out of here. And if you have any question, you can just contact me 090-11910754. You can contact me. If you have any question as to everything we spoke about here now, you can contact me. Okay. So that's it. So you can If you have any question, okay, it's 9:05 already. Thank you very much for joining and have a wonderful week ahead. Let's make it a date on Wednesday. Let's make it a date on Thursday. Let's make it a date even tomorrow to make so much money from the market as we have fundamentals coming up. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining and have a great week ahead. Thank you. Thank you.